Hi, welcome to this Kickstarter preview video for Age of Rome. This is a brand new game hitting Kickstarter soon, and boy am I excited about it. I had the pleasure of receiving a very advanced prototype and playing the game. I'm going to cover the solo mode separately on another video. It's also cool, by the way, but the game itself is amazing. It really manages to bring together cool mechanics, well-designed ideas and thoughts, and on top of that, there are so many innovative things that are going on in this game. This is a strategy worker placement under the hood, but it builds around this main mechanism with so many cool ideas. First of all, you have the rotating board. That means that you are always constantly focusing on the province that is in front of you, which is always shifting, meaning that the different buildings may be upgraded, built, and opportunities may arise there. So you'd have to not only think on what is in front of you at the moment, but also plan ahead on what's coming when the board rotates and different provinces come in front of you for access. And what you're trying to do essentially from theme point of view, because I started diving directly into the mechanics of the game, is you're trying to be the emperor in the new age of Rome that starts after the death of Caesar. So all the different players pick up the roles of different heroes and personalities from that era, trying to make the best out of their management, let's say, and gain the most glory points and be awarded the next emperor of the empire. The game has a lot of ways to earn victory points. You can gain victory points either from buildings, which you later can use for making actions. That's a really cool idea. You gain victory points from quests that you fulfill at the end of the game. You gain victory points by sending your followers to cast your votes on the Senate, and this awards you victory points according to the majorities. Or you can send your legions to conquer different regions on the board, and this will give you victory points if you manage, first of all, to conquer the area with the correct amount of legions needed as per different region, and having the majority, having the most of the legions from the other players will give you the most victory points. So many cool ideas here, but among all, I would say that the game really shines due to this phenomenal idea of the rotating board of the provinces. This not only gives you a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities as well, but it gives you a lot of things to plan ahead, but without making the game too demanding, having to consume too much brain power in order to understand what's coming in the next turn, depending on the clicks that the board is going to rotate according to the event. So very cool ideas. The game has a lot of ways to earn victory points, has a lot of ways actually to get them from different places, but also has a lot of dynamic. And I like this about the game because it's not linear. It gives you constantly changing opportunities that they're not difficult for you to cherry pick among what is offered, but players are going to be presented with all different sorts of things throughout the game that they really click together very well. But what I also do like about the game is the schemes. Now, the schemes is a part of the game that has player interaction. This game has a lot of interaction, and not only on the rotating portion, but also on the scheme portion, because players, they activate schemes. And when you activate scheme, essentially you do something mean to another player, so you steal from them glory points, you make them lose some majorities, etc. So we have seen that before, but even if you don't like to make schemes, because we are in Rome after all, the game has an embedded mechanism that makes you to want to scheme, because when you scheme, what happens is you have to pay with your forward markers. That means you unlock the bonus markers that they are below. And why do you need those bonus markers? Of course you need those bonus markers because if they are available, because you have made schemes before and they become available to you, then you can use them when you make your follower worker placement to make a double action. So instead of sending one legion, what about sending two? Yeah, you would do that if you have revealed the bonus marker by making a scheme in a previous round and forcing someone else to lose something or have something bad happen to them. So the game has in its DNA a bit of take that, but not too much that will destroy the plans of the other players or will derail you from your strategy. Just enough amount of strategy and amount of take that to nudge them a bit and give you some upper hand. The game has also progressingly more amount of followers that you gain. Once you move up across the glory track, the VP track essentially, you unlock more followers, and also has an embedded catch-up mechanism that makes the third, the fourth and the fifth follower that the players unlock easier for them to get because the requirement drops a bit. If more players have acquired the third follower, for example. So this is all good things that I have in mind, and I'm just focusing on the mechanics, on the way and the game flow, but the game really shines because it's fast. You play simultaneously when you know, you're strategizing on what you do in your province. You have also your turn order when you're making the follower action. It's a single worker placement, then it's the next player, and then it's back to you. So it doesn't take a lot of time between turns, and you don't sit in your corner waiting for yourself to play again. So this is really cool. In the meantime, you can also strategize a lot on what to do, by the way. I like the Pantheon, that you can send your follower to the religion buildings in order to make a Pantheon, and you start building a little Pantheon piece by piece, and this creates a nice effect, 3D effect on the board, because you actually build up a nice temple that awards you a lot of victory points at the end as well. Not to mention the taxation. You can, each time you build a building, you get more victory points. You get also more population in this region, which is not yours, by the way. It's yours for this round. It will move around, it will come back to you. So you're giving opportunities to the other players too. But more population means that you can do more taxation, as it makes sense. So if you have more population in your region, you can get 1 denarii for each of the population you have, but you can be mean. You can make a double taxation on and get double the money. But if you do that, you lose some victory points, some glory points, and they are becoming more and more the higher the population is getting on your region, because I suppose they will are not happy to get more money out of their purse into your pockets. So the production value of this prototype is phenomenal. I'm going to say more about the production at the end of this video, where I'm going to add a bit more topics on my thoughts of the game. But boy, this is tremendously well done, even at the prototype stage. They will unlock linen finish boards, they will unlock additional big cards, and I will unlock additional tweaks and perks on the game. I'm sure they will do, because the game is a must-have. It's going to really knock you out of the park when you play it, because I'm actually encouraging everyone to play it on, I think it's on TTS. I played the physical copy, but I think they made it available on TTS for players to try as well. Phenomenal work. It is a well-designed, well-thought, well-tested, and magnificently executed game that shines both from the mechanics point of view, but also from the visual aspect. It looks gorgeous and plays the same way. So join me at the table after my long introduction. I will show you how the game works. I will include a link to the Kickstarter page of the game, so you can visit and check out for yourself what they will prepare there and when they're going to start and launch the Kickstarter campaign. So do visit it. It will be at the description of this video, a hyperlink. But join me at the table. I'll show you how the game works, and you'll find out for yourself why this game is a must-have for your library. Become the new Emperor of Rome in the strategic worker placement game set in 44 BC Rome. Each turn you will build structures in different provinces assigned to you through a rotating board. Balance war, politics, trade and religion while scheming against your rival players. In Age of Rome, each player is assigned a hero with their respective player board. Then they are given secret quests and starting resources of denarii followers, scheme tokens, legions and votes. They will spend 9 rounds competing on rotating board in order to earn glory points for Rome and elevate themselves among other players. Each round consists of 4 phases. You have the scheme phase, the building phase, the action phase and the income phase. Players can earn glory points in various ways. They may build structures, place followers to vote and win a majority, send legions to conquer regions, and trade or collect items, or even build a pantheon. Complete secret quests also in order to give you glory points and get the upper hand. After the 9th round, the game ends. The final score is determined, and the player with the most glory points will be declared the new Emperor of Rome. So there you have it. This is the background, and this is what happens in Age of Rome.
So join me, let's familiarize ourselves with the components of this game. This is a prototype, as you can see, but it's a lovely, magnificent, awesome prototype. Let's see the components before diving into the rules of how we play Age of Rome. So we have various things in front of us, but let's take a closer look in each of those. We have the main board, which is this one that you see. It's on a white marble and it's really nice. It looks like a white marble, and at the bottom it has the regions to be conquered, the round sequence there, the Colosseum, the glory points, and some slots for the cards, the quests, and the different cards of the game as well. I have squeezed everything in the scene for these video purposes, but you can see that you don't need to have it as squeezed as I do have. It's just for a matter of fitting everything in my scene. You also have one rotating board that you can see here. This is really nice. They have done it very beautifully, this rotating board. You have the axle, which is used to keep everything in the center and flowing easily. You see this goes out. It's a folded board that you can unfold and place in the center of the main board. It clicks really nice, no fancy things needed, and it works perfectly. I've tried it already many times. We have 4 population discs that you install once and then you don't take them out, that you find at the bottom of each of the provinces. They depict the number of population, which is increased by building new buildings, and it has also a secondary value, which is the negative victory points, the glory points that you will lose if you use double taxation. We're going to come back into this in a later section of this video, but keep in mind that it's very functional. It has one on each of, at the bottom of each of the 4 provinces, and it tracks the population of this region. We have the spinning axes that are used to click those things together, and then that's it, you don't take them out. We have 45 building tiles that you see in front of you there. They are transparent from, I think, some kind of plexiglass material. They're really nice. They also have the different levels of the different type of buildings. Again, we're going to come back to those. This fits into these slots, and players can take actions once they build buildings there. We're going to explain them later on. This is really nice material. I'm amazed from the material of this prototype, and looks really fancy and beautiful with colored art as well. You have 6-player boards. You see that they are recessed. There are a lot of things that this company will try to achieve through various stretch goals, linen finish, stretch recessed boards, lots of cool things that they're going to try to unlock for the final production of the game. Hope this happens, because this game is magnificent. So there you have it. This is for an example of one of the characters of the player boards for Fulvia, with recessed slots and thick boards as well. And I have already set up for visual purposes 2 player boards at the bottom of this section with the respective tokens. We have 4 Pantheon boards. Each player is going to take one of those plus their Pantheon board. The Pantheon board is a place where you're going to build up, erect essentially your Pantheon with the different pieces, and this also looks very nice visually at the end. I'm going to show you how it looks like later on. Then you have 4 very useful reference cards, one for each player. It has various information sections. You have the schemes, the buildings, the upgrade of the buildings from level 1 all the way to level 2. For example, this military building starts as a tower, level 1, then becomes fortress, then becomes a castle, and the same goes for the different type of buildings. Each region has slots for each of the 4 type of, let's say, buildings, which we're going to become better and stronger. And then you have, most importantly, the game phases. Scheme phase, building phase, action phase, income phase, with reminders, icons, and game scoring, and some tables and numbers as a reminder. This is really useful, has condensed knowledge for everything that you need to know about the game in a snap. Then you have 3 milestones. You have the round marker, used to track the 9 different rounds of the game, moving upwards all the way to slot 9 on this track. You have the first player marker, which is this one. And this is important because not only it's going to change locations, but it's also going to point on different direction, meaning the turn order is going to change respectively. We have the void markers, which are these. Again, this is a prototype. I've seen in the color rulebook that they're going to be silk printed. Most probably these are going to be stretch goals to unlock them, but they really look nice. So I really hope they do manage to unlock all these stretch goals that they are planning to. We have the bonus markers. The bonus markers they're going to be again silk printed with different kind of bonus on each of those, and they're going to start recessed in the slot for the player with the art on them. And when you're going to be using those, you're going to be taking them together with one of your followers to make an action on a building. For the purposes of this video, I'm not going to use them pre-installed in the slots because I have a couple of bonus markers fewer than what I would expect, and I want you also to be able to see the icons below there, but these are going to be really nice as well and matching the art of the game. Then you have 5 medals that you can see over there, and these will be something that the players are going to compete to grab from other players once they build the 3rd level of a specific type of building. For example, the trade, the green one, they're going to take this medal and they give them special abilities throughout the game, which is really nice, and advantages. So you need to rush to be the first to build the 3rd level of each type of the buildings to get those medals, because they make a difference. Then you have the money of the game, of course. We have denominations of 1 denarius, which is this one, 5 denarii and 10 denarii. And they're going to be even more tokens in the final production from what I hear. Moving on, we have cards. We have the quest cards. Each player is going to start with quest cards, as I'm going to explain, which essentially are secret goals that they're going to try to achieve throughout the game to earn additional victory points, either by fulfilling something or by developing it to get more and more victory points. These are really nice things to keep an eye and have, and I'm always in favor for secret goals and end game scoring, because it adds suspense in the game, and you also don't know how well your opponent are doing on their secret goals and how further they can jump up the victory point track by completing those at the end of the game. So this makes a good addition in the game from mechanics point of view as well. Then we have some anchor cards. These are not depicting something, just show the anchor. Essentially, they are placeholders. They're taking one of your 5 cards limit from your trade cards, and some players start with an anchor card. You can get rid of it throughout the game, and we're going to explain them, so no art there. We have the trade cards that have this green background, and they're linked with the trade building, the port, in each of the regions. These are different things and different items that you can trade, personalities that you can bring on board. Lots of nice stuff. I'm going to explain how they work. They offer a lot of flexibility and a lot of pathways, because you can use them either for their event, either for trade set, or for selling them for 1 denarii. So they do a lot of things depending on how you want to strategize according to your master plan. Then we have some stretch goals which are reserved according to what the publisher is saying, so I'm not be able to show you any of those. If they are unlocked, they will be available. We also have the event cards, which have this blue background. We start the game by flipping one event card, which dictates what will happen, who's going to get a reward, and what is the direction of the turn order, clockwise or anti-clockwise, and how many turn segments of 90 degrees we're going to spin the board at the respective phase accordingly, based on what is shown up face up here. So this is a really nice mechanic as well. Then we have the items for the players. Collectively, the players have a lot of wooden components for their recess slots, as you can see here. We have the Legion figures, again in the rulebook. I see that they are silk printed. I'm expecting that this is going to be most probably some kind of stretch code, I don't know. But if that's the case, then they look much better when they're with the silk print image on them, because they have the armor and the shield of the Legion warrior, so this is really nice. In any case, the slot for your Legion warriors is the top one, and you can see it by this icon. I'm going to make a breakdown of the player board in a bit. Then you have the follower figures. Essentially, those are your workers. They have this nice meeple. These are used for worker placement purposes, and their slot is the third one. There is a slot, and this is their icon. You start with only one because this is highlighted. You only have one for this specific hero, and you can gain more throughout the game depending on how far you progress on your glory track, because you unlock them on the milestones 5, 12, 21 and 30 to get additional followers. Then you have the votes. The votes is something really interesting in the game. The votes are these thick discs that you have. They're used by playing the political action in the political buildings, and what you do is you stack them up here together with other players and trying to get majorities. I'm going to explain that how it works as well. And you start with some votes for the Senate, and this is really influencing a lot of things for you there and giving you advantages. You can also, depending on the player, you can gain more votes depending on how you progress and what you achieve throughout the game, for example. So this starts not on what is on your board is what you start with in this section. Then you have the Pantheon pieces. Now the Pantheon piece is something really nice. Maybe I'm going to come back to it and show it to you later on, but just for the purpose of visualization, you can see that this is really nice what they have done, because you use the first player to build, they use one common one, the gold one, which gives 5 victory points instead of 1 that gives the colored ones. And then what you do is you put your pieces there and you start assembling the Pantheon, and the final one on the fourth one from the top layer would be again one of the gold or bronze one, depending on how fast you manage to complete your Pantheon. I'm going to come back to this. This is really nice mechanic as well, and it's another thing that the players need to keep in mind in order to be able to get a lot of victory points at the end of the game, and they do that throughout the actions on the course of the game respectively. Next we have the scheme markers, those 3 round discs that they have the scheme, the hand with the stabbing hand with the knife. These are going to be silk printed. I'm going to draw an X here because you need to know when you have activated the scheme mark on the player board. Following this video, I'm going to draw an X on those so that you know it's done. But it's going to be already like that on the final production game. So keep in mind that this is a prototype. It looks like a final production game, but it's a prototype. And then we have the glory markers. Each player starts with their glory marker there. They would have a 30 plus on the opposite side. Once you reach 30, you're going to flip it and then restart counting, moving from the first slot again. So these are the components of the game. So let's move to the setup. First, we place the main board on the table with the axle in the center. Again, I remind you, this is the axle, keeping together in place the rotating disc board with the main board itself. Then place the provinces board through the axle and on top of the main board. Orient the provinces board in such a way that all players have a province in front of them to start the game. So if I'm sitting this way, I'll have one province, the player on my left will have this province in front of them, the player on my right will have this province, and the player sitting across the table will have the one like that. So you shouldn't start like this if you're sitting here. You rotate it so that you see the full province for yourself when you start the game. And this is how the game is going to start. Then keep in mind that for a 2-player game, players must have non-adjacent provinces in front of them. That means that I need to sit across of my player, my opponent, in a 2-player game. And then I place the round marker. I place the round marker on space 1 of the round track over there to indicate that we start the game by playing round 1. We're going to play a total of 9 rounds, moving each round the round marker 1 step upwards towards the end of the game, which is the 9th and final round of the game. Then we set the population disk for each of the provinces to a number of value 1 for a population on the province. So the population, I'm just going to rotate it so that I can show you. You see it has the value here, which on the left shows a black number, which is the number of population. It starts with 1, and on the right it has a slash, and on the right it has a red number, which shows how many negative points you will lose if you choose to perform double taxation and gain double money, 2 denarii for each of your population instead of 1 denarii later on during the income phase. So for the moment, what you need to know is you have the first number, the black one, which starts on number 1. So if it shows something different, rotate the board so it shows 1 for the setup of the game. And we're going to move the population disk, adding 1 each time we build a building or upgrading a building respectively. We're going to come back later on to that. Next, place the building tiles beside the main board in 3 rows of 5 according to their level and type: military, politics, trade, religion and farming. 4 level 1, 3 level 2 and 2 level 3 buildings. Just to give you some explanation here, I haven't performed exactly this instruction because of my scene. I want to squeeze everything closer, but instead of having 3 rows of 5 buildings, I chose to do it the other way around. So for example, you see that this is a trade building, so it's level 1, level 2 and level 3. I put next to it the military buildings, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. So these are the 5 different types of buildings. You will have 1 type of building in each of the provinces, and depending how further you develop, how much you develop, you're going to be upgraded to level 2 and level 3 respectively, and their upgrades are on the right. So you can either do that if you have less table space like me here, or you can do it the other way around, means having all 5 level 1 in 1 row, all 5 level 2 on the second row below, and all 5 level 3 on stacked on the respective levels below. Again, you see, for a level 1 we have 4 buildings, for a level 3, for a level 1 we have 4 buildings for each of the types of buildings, for a level 2 we have 3, and for a level 3 we have 2. For a 2-player game, you remove 5 level 2 and 5 level 3 building tiles of each type, and you place the corresponding metal on top of each level 3 building tile. So what I should do is I should take this medal as a reminder that the first player who builds a level 3 trade building, for example, will pick it up from there, and the same is going to happen for the rest of the categories. So I'm placing the medal on top of the level 3. The first player who's going to upgrade a level to a level 3 building, they're going to grab the metal, and I will explain later on that the metals is something that we really need to keep our minds on, because they offer a lot of advantages, different advantages throughout the game for the first player who upgrades to a level 3. Place the denarii tokens in a pile next to the board game, or you can create different piles depending on their denomination, as you see here, a denomination of 1, 5 and 10. And place the gold, silver and bronze Pantheon pieces in 2 different piles, one for the base and one for the top, and have them separate next to the player board, to the main board. Keep in mind that for a 3-player game you remove 1 silver base and 1 bronze top. Maybe you don't see, but this is a gold and these are the bronze. It has to do with the lighting. So you remove 1 silver base and 1 bronze top, and in a 2-player game you remove 1 silver and 2 bronze pieces from the top. And if you're playing, of course, a 4-player game, you use all the pieces respectively. Each player takes 1 reference sheet, 1 random player board, also 1 Pantheon board for erecting their Pantheon, 3 bonus markers, 1 of each type. These are going to have a silk print or some kind of art in one of the sides, so you'll know which type of bonus it is. For the gameplay for this prototype, it doesn't affect it because you use them when you place a follower, so it will be easy to show it to you guys. Then we also take we place the components, the components that we start the game with on the slots. So here, for example, I start with all my legions ready. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 legions. I start with 4 of my 5 votes. and I start with one of my 5 followers. I have placed the sections of the Pantheon here, but it doesn't say so in the in the rules. I'm just doing it for visual purposes. Here are the slots for the 3 different quests that you're going to have. I'm just using it to squeeze everything in my scene for the purpose of the video. These are the bonus markers, and then you're going to have some additional spare tokens. For example, you have 2 bases for the level 1 of your Pantheon on your color you set aside, and depending on the player you can have some extra components. In this case I have one additional vote that it's outside, or other players can have some additional legion if they don't have their full legion already on their board, and so on, depending on what it's installed on your player board. Then what you need to do, as I mentioned, is you need to place one follower on the colored space. You need to place the 3 ski markers in those slots, and they're going to have, as I said, a print on one of the 2 sides. Here I'm going to make an X in a sec, so that we use them for the demonstration purposes. Then you're going to have your legion figures placed on the printed slots on the top recessed slot that you have for your legion markers over there. And then you're going to put your votes according to your character on the supply spaces, as I mentioned before. So for this character, for Marcus Antonius, I have 4 out of 5. Each bonus marker on its corresponding space. So for the normal game you'll have the bonus markers, one for trade, one for politics, and one for military with the respective icon. You're going to place them there. And of course you're going to get void markers according to their character. This is the icon for the void. This character starts with 2, so I need to place 2 of those starting on the rightmost space on top of the bonus markers, as you see here. Then players should place any remaining components in their player color next to their player board. This character, and Marcus Antonius, starts also with an anchor card, because it has the anchor icon, as you can see here. So he also gets one of the anchor cards, which takes one of the 5 place slots on for the maximum trade cards that they can have at any given time in their hand. They can of course take actions throughout the game to get rid of it, but this is how the game starts for this specific character. Not everybody has an anchor card to begin with. In addition, players start with the respective denarii. Marcus Antonius starts with 7 as depicted on their player board, and I have 5 plus 2, 7 starting coins, denarii, for myself. And of course they start with glory as indicated on the player board. This is a glory marker, so 1 victory point essentially. So I start with 1 victory point by placing my marker on the 1 slot of the glory track around the board. You place the remaining void markers next to the main board. They can be used later on, depending on the number of players you may have more or less not starting the game. You shuffle the trade cards and place them in a nearby section next to the main board, face down on a pile. You shuffle the event deck and place it over there, face down, ready to reveal the first one for the first round. You place the 3 milestone markers on the 3 top milestones on the glory track, means on slot 12, there, on slot 21, and on slot 30. I didn't get any milestones in this prototype, but you have tokens. That means that you'll have a token, so that the milestone, once the first player gets their second follower, then the milestone we're going to drop 1. That means from 12 will become 11, so the second player will be able to get their second follower once they reach 11, and then it will drop down. The third player will take 1 once they reach 10, and so on. The first follower is taken for all of the players when they reach 5 glory points, so there is no milestone marker, but you're going to place 3 milestones there. For the purposes of this video, I just place them all there, but keep in mind, if the yellow, for example, picks their first follower, then all those 3 are going to be moved to one slot below on the 11th, and if then the red picks, then it's going to go on the 10, and then it's going to go 9, making it easier for the last player or the second, third and fourth player to get their additional followers. And that's depicted on the board by having those dotted lines as you see there. But anyway, for this purpose of this video, it's pretty much self-explanatory, and I'm just placing them there, and we're going to come back to explain it also on the respective section of the main video. Then decide who will play first and put the first player marker on an open space on the province that is in front of that player respectively. So for example, I will take the first player and place it on a space, open space, in the province that is in front of the first player, like doing so. Last but not least, we shuffle the quest cards, this deck, and deal 3 face down to each of the players. So we give 3 quest cards to each of the players. These are secret cards and game cards that we're going to explain how they work, and each player has 3 for them for the hand. Keep them secret, don't reveal them to the other players until the end of the game. Players decide which 2 cards will keep and return 1 to the bottom of the pile. So 1 will go at the bottom of the pile without revealing which one, and you keep 2. And those 2, you're going to put them face down at the bottom of your player board as slots that you have on the lower section of your player board here. Again, keep in mind that during the game, players should keep their cards secret from each other until the final scoring. In a 2-player game, you remove quest cards that have the asterisk symbol. Let me show you which card has the asterisk symbol so that you can see. There you go. You have some cards with the asterisk symbol at the bottom. Those should be removed when you're playing a 2-player game, respectively. So there you have it. Each player is going to start with 2 of those cards out of the 3 that they have selected, and that's the last step that you do during setup. Now, a last quick word about the player boards. Every player starts the game with different amount of recruited legions, votes and followers. Also, they start with a different amount of denarii, and they may have an anchor card as well. Actually, the followers are all the same. All players start with 1 follower. So the differentiation goes again on the legion numbers. You may have different number of legions for each player, the number of votes, the number of starting glory that you may have, and of course you may have the anchor card. Like in this case, Marcus Antonius starts with the anchor card, respectively. All players start with 1 of their 5 followers. 1 position is marked as active. You see it's highlighted, so we start with 1. And that's the same for everybody. And the rest are marked as inactive, and they need to be acquired through the milestones, as we'll describe later on. Every space on the player's board is filled from right to left. And this is important to remember. You place a corresponding unit when the underlined icon is opaque, and you leave the space empty when it's transparent. For example, if you were to acquire your second follower, you would take it and place it in this slot, meaning filling it from right to left. And the same goes for the rest of the components on the player board. In any case, everything is depicted on the player board, so Marcus Antonius starts with whatever you see highlighted as active for easy setup. You don't need to remember anything. Those buildings, again, don't have to go there, you put them aside. I'm just placing them there for visual purposes, okay? So I found that they may fit there to make my video scene better, anyway. Then you have, of course, the different number of denarii that you start, the different number of glory points, the void markers that you start with, 1 and 1, 2 in this case, and you start filling them from right to the left, so they go on top of the bonus markers, 1, 2, 3, which are going to be colored and depicted with art. And if you're having an anchor card at your starting hand for your trade cards, you are seeing this icon here. So there you have it. This is how Marcus Antonius is going to start the game, respectively. So let's move to playing the game.
First of all, a quick look on the quest cards themselves. Some quest cards score specifically glory points if they are accomplished, like the first one, which is Pantheosis. But there are also other quest cards that score glory points proportional to the level of accomplishment. Like this one, How Tall Is Your Faith? The breakdown of the quest cards is very simple. First of all, you have the name of the card on this section in bold font. Then you have the end game glory points that the card scores. And you can see that the leaf is not green here, is yellow, showing that this is end of game glory points, not within the course of the game, that they are depicted here or here. Then you have, of course, they are also listed if there are a specific number in this red slot. So if this is a set number of glory points, you can find it there. If it is a progressive, this is a condition for each step of the progress of the quest card. You can have quest conditions that are proportional to the endgame status of how far you achieved to progress, and then that's explained there. And then you can have an asterisk. If there is an asterisk on the glory card, that means that it should not be used in a two-player game, respectively. So, for example, this card allows you to earn, if you have earned the most glory points than any other players in Pantheon, it's a set number, then this card will award you 5 glory points in addition. While this progressive card, you earn 3 glory points at the end of the game for every Pantheon level build. So you have 2 levels. If you have built the first one, you get 3 glory points. If you have built both of the levels, you'll get 6 glory points. Now let's see the overview of the game. The game is played over 9 rounds, and each round is divided into 4 phases. The player aid really does a great job to depict all the different phases and details in a quick screen for us to access. So you have the scheme phase, which is the first one, as you can see starting over there. In the scheme phase, an event card is flipped and turn order is determined. In turn order, players may activate schemes as depicted in front of you. Then we move to the building phase. In turn order, players may take building actions, followed by the third phase of the game, which is the action phase, the main phase where players take turns taking actions by placing followers until every available follower is placed from all players. Then we have the income phase where players receive income and the province's board is rotated accordingly. At the end of the 9th round, when the score, the round marker reaches this and the 9th round is played out, at the end of the 9th round, the game proceeds to the final scoring. The player with the most glory points, which comes from what they have accumulated throughout the game, and end of game glory points in total, win the game, and they are declared the new Emperor of Rome. Now, a word about the glory track, which goes around the top left corner of the game board. At any point of the game, when players earn glory points, the ones depicted with the green leaf symbol, they immediately move up their glory marker on the space on the glory track respectively. So if I am to win as a yellow player 2 glory points, I would move 1, 2, moving this marker over there. This doesn't apply when players earn endgame glory points because they are scored together at the final scoring. And for you to differentiate the end of game glory points, they have, instead of the green leaf that you see here, they have the yellow leaf, which is end of game glory points. If your glory marker advances beyond the end of the glory track, which is at the 30 section over there, the 30 value, then what you do is you flip it so that the plus 30 side is face up, and then you place it back on the number 1 of the glory track, continuing tracking your score. The total of your glory points is now 30 plus the number of the additional glory points that you have accumulated in the game. The glory track begins at 1 and the glory marker cannot go below that number under any circumstances. Meaning that if a player, for example, glory marker is at space 1, so they start like the green player at space 1, and they cannot choose to apply double taxation in order to lose victory points, glory points, and go below that.
so they have to skip it and they do a normal taxation. But we're going to cover this later on in detail. Now, what about milestones? As players advance their glory markers on the glory track, they will reach 4 milestones. The first time they reach each milestone, they're going to get to place 1 extra follower in their follower supply, so they acquire 1 more follower. They take it and they place it on their player board. Milestones are on spaces highlighted with yellow: 5, 12, 21 and 30 glory points respectively. Everyone achieves their first milestone on space 5, so when a player reaches, let's say something like that, when the green player reaches the value 5, then they achieve their first milestone, which means that they're going to take the follower and add it to their supply, so they will have the second follower moving forward. But that means that other players can also get the same milestone, but they also have to reach the value of 5, as described here. Following that, the next milestone starts on space 12, the third one on space 21, and the final one on space 30. This works a bit different. That means the next milestones that start on space 12, 21 and 30 and move 1 space down as the players reach them. As I mentioned before, that means that, for example, when in a future scenario where somehow like that, and let's say everyone has acquired their first follower, then when the green player reaches the milestone 12, they will get their second follower, and that means that the barrier goes 1 level below, that each subsequent player now have a target of 11 instead of 12 for the second milestone. When the second player that reaches their second milestone, they're going to get their second follower, and then it also drops down. That means that now purple has to go to 10 respectively. So keep that in mind, because it becomes easier to accomplish your second, third and fourth milestone as players are acquiring themselves in front of you. So basically this is like a catch-up mechanism, making it easier for you to get your second follower, and they drop the barrier a bit so that you can follow up easier. Keep in mind that throughout the game, players will move up and down on the glory track, earning and losing glory points. But be aware that once a new follower has been recruited, acquired on your player board by crossing the milestone, that follower remains recruited for the rest of the game. You don't have to return it back. And what about ties? When an event card rewards the player with the most or least of something and multiple players tie, all tile players earn that reward. When a quest card awards glory points to the player who has the most or least of something and multiple players tie, the tie player who holds that quest can earn the reward.
Event cards. Reveal an event card and read the reward that it provides. Give the reward to the player or players who earn it and place the event card face up on the main board. So this is the event pile. I flip 1 event card, place it on the discard pile. This is the active event card for the round. That means that first of all, I see some information on the card itself. It has information that dictates how I should orientate the first player marker. I remind you, this is the first player marker. We have to do it as the arrow is depicting on the face-up event card. The players will take turns during this round in this direction. So for example, the direction is like that, so if it goes pointing this way before, it has to be, so if it goes like that before, that means that we have to change the orientation of the arrow following the direction of the arrows there. The breakdown of the event cards, and for this purpose I'm just going to open a second one just for the sake of having 2 so that you can see the differences, but there is always only 1 event card open at any given time. So you can see that you have the name of the card, which is in bold. Then you have the benefit and the requirements described below in the text. You have the lore in italics, and you have the direction and the number of times the province's board will turn 90 degrees. Blue arrow is for clockwise and orange is for counterclockwise. The number of arrows indicates how many times the province's board will rotate. In this time, 1 time clockwise, in this case 2 times anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. Keep in mind that at this time, when we flip the event card, we just change the direction of the first player turn marker. We don't perform the rotating of the board. This will happen later on in the course of the round. So, a good example, let's see up close for this event card. That means that we have to change the direction of the card, of the arrow to show, to be clockwise, and as you can see, players with the most scheme on their player board earn 1 denarii per recruited follower. This is the reward that this event card will give at this time, and this is when it's executed at this stage right now. We also, as I mentioned, change the direction according to the blue or orange arrow, and we give the reward to the players accordingly. So that's what happens at this stage. No rotation, just keep that in mind. So let's dive deeper into the different phases of the game. Again, we start with the scheme phase, which is the first one. Just keep in mind that if this is the first round of the game, we skip this step. So we don't do the scheme phase for the first round of the game. We just start doing this scheme phase from the second round onwards. But I'm going to explain it now nonetheless. So starting with the first player and continuing in the direction indicated by the first player marker, which also comes from the event as I've shown you before, all players take a turn to activate schemes. Schemes have this symbol, the hand with the stabbing knife that you see, and you may activate any schemes you set in your previous round. So that's why we don't have a scheme phase in the first round. You must have placed them in the previous round. So you may activate any schemes that you have set in previous rounds on any province except yours. That means that throughout, let's say, fast forward in another round, you may be able to place schemes, and the way you place schemes is you place a follower when you place a scheme marker like that, which I'm going to cover later on. But let's say, for the benefit of showing you an example, let's say I have placed schemes like that. So assume that, forget about Gaius Octavius, I'm Marcus Antonius facing this province. This is how the setup is, and let's say I have this province in front of me. If for some reason there is a scheme marker there because it wasn't activated before in one of those 3 slots where we place the scheme markers, I have to ignore it. I do not activate scheme markers that were set previously and they are in the province that is facing me, my active province. But I can activate any schemes set in previous rounds on any province except mine. That means that I can activate both this scheme and that scheme facing that player on the right and that player on the left respectively. A scheme can only target the player in front of their province, where the scheme marker is. That means that this scheme marker will target the player sitting just on this spot, and this scheme marker will target that place sitting over there. When you activate a scheme, you must remove 1 void marker. These are the void markers that you have here, from your leftmost space of your void track, and place it to the rightmost space of the target player. Again, let's say, for the benefit of the example, Gaius Octavius is sitting there, and I want to activate the scheme because I have a scheme in the province that he is facing him. Imagine this board like that. What I do is I need to take 1 scheme marker from my leftmost space of my void track, that means this one, as long as I have one to take and use, and I place it to the rightmost space of the targeted player's void track. That means I go and place it there. The requirements are, first of all, that I do have a void marker myself to pay for the activation of the scheme that I have placed, and there is a space available, empty, for the target player to receive the void. That means that I have a let's say, paid with the void token by giving it to the player, and that player can use it in future rounds as well. And then I will execute the the scheme. If you do not have a void marker on, or if the target player does not have any open space on their void track, the scheme remains set, so it doesn't activate, remains there. It cannot be activated, so it stays there and will continue probably facing another player on a future round. If a space with a +1 bonus is revealed on your void track, when that bonus is now active. Likewise, if a space with a +1 bonus is covered by a void mark, that bonus becomes inactive. And this is linked also with the bonus markers. So you see, I'm just placing them higher because these markers should have these colors depicted on them. So that means that in this case, if I'm like that, I'm just imagine I was before activating the scheme, I was like that. That means that this token will have a screen printed art, will show you that I have a +1 because I have this available, okay? And this and that were blocked because they had the void marker. When I do activate the void as I described previously, I uncover one more bonus. That means that both this and that are active because I have both bonus markers now available to me. Now, for every scheme that you have successfully activated in the manner that I just described, you can perform one of the 3 actions depicted on your player board on the left. 1, 2, 3. You choose one of those and you activate it. And we're going to explain those because there are some differences and some similarities between player boards later on. But when a scheme is activated, you flip over the scheme marker to reveal the painted side, and that marker returns to the player board at the end of the action phase. That means that here I would activate it, I would flip it so it shows the painted side, the X or whatever. That means that it's been activated, and then since it's activated and executed, at the end of the action phase, this will return to the player for future schemes. Speaking about scheme effects, all emperors can activate 2 common schemes and 1 unique one according to their abilities and role. All 3 are depicted on their matching player board on the left, or the options that you have, and all schemes can target only 1 player and are explained in the next section that I will just tell you. If a player cannot activate any of their 3 schemes effects against the opponent, the one sitting there, exactly, this is a target as I mentioned, that means that if they cannot activate any of those schemes, because they cannot do that or that, for the reasons of the game restricting them at this specific stage, then the scheme cannot be activated and the void is not paid respectively. Now let's see the different schemes. As you can see here, you can have this one, which is a common one, meaning that all players can have it as an option. This is called mudslinging. Immediately move an opponent's glory marker 1 space down in the glory track. The scheme cannot be activated if opponent's glory marker is on space 1, so they cannot go beyond 1. Then there is this one, the degradation. You remove 1 pantheon piece from an opponent's pantheon, must be the player color and the part of the unfinished pantheon level respectively, so you cannot remove a gold or bronze or whatever. And it also has to be an unfinished level, so if they have completed the first level you cannot destroy it, or if they have completed the second level you cannot destroy it. Then you can have this one, which is apostasy. Select 1 opponent's legion figure in any but region and remove it or replace it with one of your own. The opponent's legion figure returns to the player's board. Ouch. Now let's see the second one, which has this icon here, and this is called void vote. Remove 1 opponent's vote from the Senate's column and return it to the player board, and you immediately earn 1 glory point. This will make sense once we explain how the column vote works, but that's what happens. Then you also have this one, which is the deception on Falvia's board. This is the deception icon. Select 2 of an opponent legion figures and relocate them to any region. Again, this hurts a lot. This is the sold, means that scheme that means that randomly you select 1 trade card from an opponent's hand and discard it to immediately earn 2 denarii. You also have the revote, where you remove one opponent's vote from the Senate column and place one of your own on the top of the Senate's column, and the opponent's vote returns to their player board. And you have also the customs fee, where you randomly select one trade card from an opponent's hand and take it into your hand. If your hand is not full, of course, that is. So, next phase is the second phase, which is the building phase. Now, in this phase, starting with the first player and continuing as the first player marker indicates, all players take a turn to take building tiles from the building pile and place them on the province's board, meaning on these different provinces here. You can see that we have 4 different provinces, which are with the different logos. You see this one is for Italia, this is for Africa, this is for Hispania, and this is for Gaul. A player can only place building tiles in the one province in front of them during the round. They can place a level 1 building if there is a space free in that location. They can also, if there is already a level 1 building, they can upgrade it from level 1 to level 2 for the specific building itself. And if there is already a level 2 building, they can upgrade it to a level 3 for the same type. And then, of course, you can take the medal if you're the first one to do so. During their turn, a player can take as many building tiles out of the building tile piles as they want, and as long as they can pay their cost in denarii. And for every building tile they place, players immediately earn glory points, as depicted on the location, and 1 population by moving the disc of the province in front of them, rotating it so that it adds 1 number to the population. So you see, during setup we said that we start with 1 population in each of the provinces. That means that when I build, for example, let's say I build this level 1 building, a trade building. You can see it's a trade building because it has a trade icon. We have, as I mentioned before, 5 different types of buildings: the trade buildings, the military buildings, the politics buildings, the religion buildings with a temple, and the farming buildings. So when I take this building action, I will, as long as I have money to pay, I will pay the cost. So in order to build on this location, the level 1 trade building, I have to pay 4 denarii. It's in red color, depicting denarii in this circle. I will earn 2 glory points. So let's say, for example, I'm the yellow player. I would take 2 glory points in the glory point track. I will pay, of course, 4 denarii in order to be able to place it. You can see that these are transparent and that they have more and more art as they become level 2 and level 3. I'm going to show you how they look like up close. I will place it there, and for every building I place, I add 1 population here. So I go from 1 to 2 population. The population number is the one on the right, the black one, not the red. This is for double taxation penalty. So it shows the population on the left and the penalty if you do double taxation on the right. So I increased my population, I earned my glory points, I paid what was beneath in order to build it, and I can continue doing that as long as I want to, and I have denarii. So for example, I can build this military by paying 6 denarii and gaining 3. This tower by paying 3 denarii and paying 6 denarii and gaining 3 glory points. The cost on the tile itself is what you need to do to go to the next level. Okay. The religion tile, level 1, you can see it's level 1 here. You always start by level 1. The politics building, and the farming building. Of course, if there is no slot at all, the first time I place 1 building, I'm just simply placing it in the gap. If I want to upgrade a building, that means I move from the level 1 to the level 2. I would take the level 2. I will pay, in this case, I can continue doing it as long as I have money to pay. There is no limitation. So I can build both that and the upgrade itself in the same round. So that means I will also need to pay 7. In this case, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I should be 6 on this track. And you see the penalty increases as you move further. And if I wanted to upgrade any building, it goes from their current level to the next one. So from level 1 I will go to level 2. That means I would pay 7 denarii. So in order not to get confused, what the building tile itself has is the amount of money you need to pay and the glory points you will take if you are upgrading it to the next level, not the one shown, but going to the third level. So in this case, if I'm moving from a level 1 to a level 2, I will need to pay 7 denarii and gain 3 additional glory points, and then I will, it says you can add it on top, but I think the rulebook is just a typo there. You just can replace it because, sorry, this is a farm, it should be here. So I need to pay 9 denarii and gain 4 glory points in order to make it to level 2. That means that instead of putting it on top, you see, I can just replace it. It has a more rich building, in this case with more docks, for example. And I can continue doing that as far as I like. There is no limitation. The only thing that limits me is the amount of money I have in order to pay for those upgrades or buildings. Again, here at the bottom of the province, on the group of numbers depicted on the population disk, the first one is the current population. So in this case, I should also have 7 now because I upgraded. So each upgrade also adds 1 population. So it shows the current population of that province, and the second one, the one in red, the glory points penalty. This is the number of glory points the player moves down the glory track if they are applying double taxation on income phase and get double the money. So in this case, you see that I have already 7 population in my case. The building tiles. As I mentioned, there are 5 types of buildings: the red military, the blue politics, the green trade, the purple religion, and the yellow farming. Each type has 3 levels. Level 1 building tiles can be upgraded to level 2, and level 2 can be upgraded to level 3, and level 3 building tiles cannot be upgraded any further. Each tile depicts in red color the denarii you have to pay to upgrade it, and the glory points in black font that you earn immediately when you are building this building. Buildings are placed at the corresponding space on the province's board on top of the lower level buildings of the same space, of the same type. Maybe it's meant to make it even higher on height, the level 2 and the level 3, so maybe you just do indeed put them on top of each other. In any case, it doesn't affect the gameplay, I think. So, each tile has the different type, the different requirements and costs, and the different awards they give in victory point, glory points essentially. Keep in mind that an empty tile like this one, an empty location, position on the province board, that has also the requirements, because the empty ones show, first of all, the type of the building. This is a religion one, and they show what you need to pay in denarii and how many glory points you earn to insert in the slot a level 1 building. Now a word about medals. The medals, as you can see, they are on top on the respective pile of the level 3 type of buildings. During setup we place them as such. The first player to build a level 3 building earns the medal of that type, and every medal grants a unique ability to the player that acquires it. So for example, for the benefit of demonstration, let's say I had a farm level 2 here already, and I'm the first player to upgrade on the board throughout all the provinces a farm to level 3, and I can see that because the medal is still available. That means that I will pay the cost, 12 denarii, I will earn 5 glory points as depicted on the tile itself. I will take the medal for my own benefit, and I will, of course, place the first time a farm, level 3 farm, on any province, on anywhere on the board. That's why you can see that level 3 tiles, they do not have any further upgrade costs, they just show the type, that they are farming buildings. They have more art because they are the biggest, the better version of the farming tile. And by doing so, by being the first one who built a level 3 building of any type, I will acquire the medal itself. So what about the medals? What the medals do? This is something important because they give advantages to the players that they own them. So starting with the red, the military. You win ties in battle regions. The player or players who tie with you take the next available place. And it will make sense when we explain the military battles and the regions. The politics, this medal, the blue one. When you achieve a majority, you earn 3 glory points instead of the normal benefit. And that happens in the column of the Senate, we'll explain later on. The trade, the green one. You can use jewel cards, which is a type of cards, as wild in order to accomplish sets of 3. That makes making sets of 3 easier for you. Then you have the religion, the purple one. You can pay 3 denarii to earn 1 glory point at any time in the game. So you can cash out your denarii in order to get glory points in the game. And last but not least, the farming, the one that I just showed you. When you place a follower on a farming building, you earn 2 denarii, in addition to the normal benefit of the round. So let's move now to the action phase, which is the third phase in the round. So, in this phase, starting with the first player and continuing as the first player marker indicates, meaning the arrow there. So I am the first player sitting in front of this province, and then we're going clockwise because the arrow dictates so from the event. All players will take turns placing one of their followers to perform an action, and this is going to continue until all players place all their followers. So for example, I'm placing a follower on a building, on building tiles. Players can place followers on building tiles and scheme spaces only on province in front of them, or the Colosseum, which we're going to explain later. So if I'm the yellow player and I'm sitting here, I have access only to the buildings in the region that is in front of me, the Colosseum and scheme places as well, meaning those here. Immediately after placing a follower, they can take the action or benefit that this location provides, as we will explain further in detail below. So for example, then let's say for the benefit of this example, we start and I would be the yellow player because I have the first player token. I would place something, an action on a building. I will take an action. Then the next player sitting on my left, because this is how the arrow dictates, let's say in this case it's the purple player, they will take and place one follower on one of their buildings in front of them, in the region in front of them, or one of the scheme locations if there is available. We'll explain this in a sec, and perform the action. The same will happen with the red player who's sitting across, and last but not least, the green player will do something similar on the round. Then it's back to me. As long as I have active followers, I can continue placing followers either on buildings or on scheme locations and performing the benefit they provide. Now, something important. Building tiles have a maximum number of followers that can be placed on them according to their level. The level 3 buildings can hold up to 3 followers, the level 2 buildings up to 2 followers, and the level 1 buildings just 1 follower. That means that, for example, in this case, this level 1 building can take 1 follower. If I had a second one, I would not be allowed to place it here again. But there, because it's a level 2 building, I can, once everyone does an action with their follower, I can place a second follower here because this building is a level 2 and can accommodate 2 followers. And respectively, a level 3 building can hold up to 3 followers during the action phase. And of course, something important, there is no way in the game that this scenario can happen. You cannot place a follower on a blank empty spot. You need to have a building, and you can only place followers on top of buildings or scheme locations. So let's see the different type of buildings and what happens when you place a follower on top of them. We start with the military, which is this one. Has this icon. This is a military building. So if I place a follower on a military building, the below happens. You move 1 legion figure in the battle regions. These are the 3 battle regions that you see in front of you. And you move 2 when you're using the military bonus. Each time you use a military a bonus, and I'm showing you that the bonus is here, as you can see. If I have used this bonus while I perform my placement, instead of placing a single follower, if I had this bonus available and I'm placing the military bonus on the building together, on top of the building together with my follower, I would grant a better version of the action. So instead of getting 1 to move 1 legion, these are the legion of 1, don't mix them with the followers, these are the legion meeples, they have different look. I would be able to place 2 instead of 1 on the battle regions. So players can move legion, in this case, let's say I place the bonus marker, so instead of having a single one, if I had placed only the follower, I place the bonus marker, so I'm placing 2. That means I can go and place, for example, 2 military legions on a region of my choice. Players can move legion figures either from their player board to the battle region or the main board, or from one battle region to another battle region. That means, for example, I can either place it like that, or if I have already, let's say, various legions there as well, I can decide to move one here from one region to another. Each battle region may contain any number of legion figures from any number of players. For a battle region to be defeated or conquered, it must contain a total number of legion figures equal to the number printed on the shield in that battle region. In this case, 2 for this region, 3 for that region, or 4 for this region. This is how many legion markers it requires. So with one more, let's say it was like that, this legion is considered defeated for the purposes of final scoring. The player with the most legion figures on a defeated battle region earns first place and the corresponding endgame glory points shown in the banner of that battle region, and the player with the second most legion figures earns the second place and the corresponding endgame glory points, and so on. So in this case, let's say, for example, for this region, if we have this scenario, the red player, we have the minimum amount of legion markers here, it requires 2, it has 4, and the player who has the most legion markers, in this case the red one, will earn the highest number of glory points, in this case 5 for this region. And you can see that the numbers differ depending on the region, becoming higher to the right, to the west, to the east. So, in case of a tie between players, tied players keep their place but do not score glory points. So for this scenario, no one would get the second place between yellow and green because they have the same number of glory points. And if it was like that, no one among the 3 would get any glory points because they tie. Keep in mind that this may break with the military medal because you break ties, as I mentioned before. So if a player owns the military medal because they have been the first to upgrade it to a level 3 military building and acquired this medal, they would break ties. But in this case, if the yellow player had this medal, the red player will earn at the end of the game 5 victory points, and the yellow, even though it was tied in the number of legion figures, they would be the ones breaking the tie because they had this medal, and they would gain 2 glory points for themselves. Also important, in a 2-player game, asterisks underneath region banners indicate that these banners do not count on final scoring. For example, in this case, you see that under the 8 glory points there is an asterisk. That means that only the first player in this region will get 4 glory points at the end of the game. Nothing will be awarded to the second player. Next type of building are the politics. When you place your follower on a politics building which has this icon, you place 1 vote from your board, from the second row of your recessed board. You take 1 of your votes, the left one, and you place it on the Senate's column. That is the axle here. So you take your vote and you place it over there. Votes can be placed on the axle and create the Senate's column. The first vote placed on the axle creates a column of 1 vote. Any vote after that is placed on top of it and expanding the column to a maximum height of 5 votes. So you can have additional votes added from the different players or having more votes from yourself, expanding the height of the column up to a maximum of 5 votes. So let's say that throughout the game, various votes have been added to the Senate column, creating something like that. So we have 5 votes, as you can see. When a 6th vote is placed, the vote at the bottom is removed from the column and returned to the player's player board. All 5 votes at the Senate's column score glory points in the final scoring. So all the votes that remain there at the end of the game award glory points at the end of the game to their owners. So let's say I was going to place a 6 vote. That means that the one at the bottom is going to be removed and returned to the player's personal board. So you can have a maximum of 6 votes. In this case, the bottom one is green, 1 vote for the green player, 1 for the yellow, 1 for the purple, and 2 votes for the red. Keep in mind that votes should come from your own personal player board, and they should be available to you in the recessed slot. During the action or scheme phase, players can create a majority by forming a set of 3 consecutive votes on the Senate's column, only by placing and never by removing columns from, votes from the column. The player must have the top 2 votes on the column and then place a third one on top to form 3 votes in a row. So let's say the red player would place the third one here, have the 2 on top. Let me move it a bit so that you can see. And then they would create a majority. They immediately earn 2 glory points for creating a majority, and that happens every time someone creates a majority by having 3 votes in a row, by placement, not by removing. And then, of course, as you would expect, the one at the bottom has to be removed, because you can only have 5 votes in a column. Keep in mind that I just placed 1 vote on the column because let's say for the benefit of the example, I was the red player and this was in front of the red player. So if the red player has placed a follower there, they would place 1 vote on top, and if they created a majority with 3 in a row, they would gain 2 glory points. But similarly, like with the military, when you're placing your follower, if you have available and you place the political bonus as well from your player board, that means that you can add 2 votes on the Senate column using the politics bonus. So in this case, I would add the first, gain 2 glory points, and then I would add my second vote, which becomes the 6th. Again, having the 3 on the top mine, I would get another 2 victory points, and I would remove the bottom one, so I still have 5 votes in the column. But I would score 2 majorities, one after the other, meaning I would get 2 + 2 glory points from the 2 votes added subsequently. And again, I want to emphasize that you only create majorities by placing a vote disc, not by removing through schemes or other means. And just again to show you up close how the politics building look like, this is level 1 and it can go all the way up to level 3. So next option is the trade building, like this one. When you place a follower on the trade building, like we do with the rest of the placements when you use followers, in this case what you do is from the deck of trade cards, you draw 1 card from the trade card pile, or 2 if you have used again on your placement your trade bonus, if it was available to you. So if you use that trade bonus by placing the trade bonus and then on top of the follower, then you will draw 2. If you didn't have this available to you, because either you use it or it was blocked by a void marker, then you place only 1 follower and then you draw 1 trade card from the trade card pile. Trade cards can be used in 3 different ways: played to activate effects written on the card, used for creating sets of 3, or sold for 1 denarius. At any point in the game, you may hold up to 5 trade cards in your hand, including the anchor card. So if your character has the anchor card, that takes 1 of your 5 slots, and this is a maximum that you can have. This doesn't do anything other than taking 1 of your space in your hand limit. You can remove it in terms of gameplay if you activate some special abilities, etc. But if you don't have it, then you can go all the way up to 5 trade cards in your hand. If your hand is full, you must pay, sell or discard a trade card before drawing a new one. But keep in mind that the anchor card can never be sold, of course, and it just blocks one of your slots, as I mentioned before. A trade card can be played immediately only when its draw is triggered by another card's effect, while trade card effects can be chained only if the chained cards are of the same condition type. So let's dive a bit deeper. So play a trade card. Players can play trade cards to activate the specific text written on the trade cards themselves. Then they discard the trade card from their hand and activate those cards' effects immediately. After all cards are discarded, the action is resolved. So in this case, if for example a player was choosing to play for the effect this card here, when you place a follower, you recruit one extra vote to a maximum of 5. So you gain 1 vote if you had 1 less vote and it was not on your player board. This is how you recruit it to get your 5th and last one. But you activate it when you place a follower, and this is what it awards you. Keep in mind that the different types of card give you different abilities and they have different conditions for when you can activate them, but the philosophy is the same. You play them when you are allowed to play them, and you activate the text, getting the benefit and then discarding it out of your hand and out of your possession respectively. Another option for the trade cards is that you can create trade sets. Trade sets have this icon, okay? So you can create trade sets. I believe, now that I'm looking at the player boards, the slots on the player board must be for having the trade sets, so you can have a maximum of 3 trade sets, and this is reminded by these slots. So these are not for the quests that I mistakenly told you, so you don't place the quests below there. I may correct myself, but that doesn't matter, and it's a minor detail. You have 3 different sets that you can, 3 sets that you can allow to play and keep them for final scoring, and this reminds you that you can place them 1 set here, 1 set here, and 1 set there respectively. Nonetheless, how are the sets created? Players can form a set of 3 trade cards of the same type, and there are 4 types of trade cards. We have different types of tools which have this icon, weapons that have this icon, clothes that have this icon, and jewelry that have this icon. When you create a set, you have to use cards that belong in the same type. So I can create sets, for example, with only tools, or only weapons, or only clothes, or jewelry. In order to create a set, I need to use 3 trade cards of the same type. So, for example, I have 3 weapons, and then I will play these 3 cards as a set in order to give me 4 victory points, glory points at the end of the game. When a player decides to form a set, they place it face up in front of their player board. From that point onward, those cards can no longer be played or sold. They will score endgame glory points at the end of the game in final scoring, and each player can have a maximum of 3 trade sets unless stated otherwise. And again, that's why you use the slots at the bottom of the player boards to play the sets that you have declared for final scoring, that you cannot do anything else with them until you score them at the end of the game. And in this case, this will give you 4 glory points, but you cannot sell them or play them if you change your mind. Another option that you can do with any trade card is you can sell that card for denarii. At any point of the game on their turn, players may discard a trade card from their hand to earn 1 denarius per trade card immediately. And let's just see a couple of trade cards again for the anatomy of the card, just to show you. You see that you have the name of the card in bold. Here you have the effect condition described in the text. You can have when you activate a scheme, when a scheme is activated on your province, when you build, when you place a follower anywhere on the Colosseum, on the farming building, or when you apply taxation. So this is a condition that when the card can be played. Then you see the effect a player activates when playing the card, which is described below. So this is a condition in bold, and this is the effect in plain text. You have the lore in italics, like before, at the bottom. And you have also the end game glory points that you'll get if you manage to make a set with, for example, weapons. You get, for one set of weapons, you'll get 4 glory points. For one set of tools, you'll get 3 glory points. And for one set of jewelry, they're the most expensive, you will get 6 glory points. Whether for one set of clothes, you'll get 5 glory points respectively. Also, you could have, for example, an asterisk symbol in a banner, like this one. This dictates that this card should be removed in a 2-player game, similarly like with the rest of the event cards, etc. And of course, you have also the type of the card, which is described on the back, because these are trade cards. So this is how trade cards work. They can give you a lot of advantage, either for precious denarius when you are in short of, or for trade sets to get glory points at the end of the game, or play them for their abilities and gain additional effects and benefits during your turn. There is no limit to the amount of cards that you can use. You can, for example, sell 2 for 2 denarius, make a set, and play 1 card, as long as you're limited by the number of trade cards you hold on your hand, and the limit, unless otherwise stated, is 5 cards to hold on us. The religion building. So when you place your follower on the religion building, which is this one over there with this icon, then you place 1 Pantheon piece on the Pantheon board itself. Using the 5 Pantheon pieces in the player board colors, so you have 2 bases and 3 level 2 pieces. So these are level 1 and these are level 2. So using those 5 pieces in your player colors and 2 from the common piles, players can build their Pantheon. The Pantheon consists of 2 levels: the base, the 3 rectangular pieces, and the top, the 4 polygon pieces on top. Players will start the level, a level, by using a Pantheon piece in their player color. So you first have to use one of those that they come in your level, and you play on your color, and you place them either this side or that side, it doesn't matter. So this needs to be always the first piece on your personal construction board that you have. And following that, the second one that you'll build is also from your own player color. The third one that you build is going to be from the common pile over there. So depending on if you're the first one to finish a level 1 Pantheon, meaning by inserting the third and last piece to complete your level 1 Pantheon building, you will grab the gold one. If you're the second one, you'll grab the silver one, and if you're the third one or fourth one, you'll grab the bronze one. So let's say, for the benefit of example, let's say I was the first one to complete the level 1 Pantheon, so I'm going to grab the gold one and place it as such. So now I have my level 1 complete. Keep in mind that this cannot be any more target of any scheme plots, so you cannot destroy it, so it cannot be reduced by removing pieces, and it's considered completed. So the first player to take a base or top piece from the common pile will take the gold piece in that size. The second will take the silver, and subsequent players will take bronze. The base uses 2 pieces that match the player's color plus 1 from the common pile, and the top uses 3 pieces that match the player colors plus 1 from the common pile. A non-completed level is considered a level where not all pieces that have been placed are for that level. So this is a non-completed level 1. This is a completed level 1. Following that, players will build the level 2. So let's say on subsequent rounds, you build this, and then if you're the first player, you grab the gold one. That means that you will complete your Pantheon level 2 by adding the 4th piece for the top. So during the scheme, players can target other players' Pantheon pieces, and they may try to remove them with a degradation. But keep in mind that this can only be done if it's a non-complete level. So in this case, the level 2 is also complete. They cannot touch it. Similarly, If another player is the second to finish their first level, they grab the silver one, and if the third one will grab the bronze and the bronze. The color of the color of the common piles, whether it is silver, bronze, or gold, dictate the number of victory points that you'll grab at the end, depending on how far you progressed with your building of your pantheon. And not to mention, it looks really cool, right? So this is a complete pantheon. Okay, you're not going to move it around a lot, but you can see that it looks really nice once complete. Next is farming. When players place a follower on their farms, what they do is they earn denarii immediately according to the round count. So if it is the first round of the game, then or the second, they earn 1 denarii. If it is the third or the fourth, 2, they can earn all the way up to 5 denarii if it is the ninth and last round of the game. Immediately they take this money from the reserve and they add it to their personal supplies for cash. The last option is the Colosseum. When you place a follower there, you immediately earn 1 glory point for every follower placed. Players can place as many followers here as they want, even more than one of their own, so they can place more than one and gain additional glory points for each one placed. Now, when every player has placed all the followers, the action phase ends, and all the followers, bonus markers and activated schemes return to the positions of the player board's respective personal boards. So what about the scheme action that we mentioned before, but how is it executed? When the player chooses to make a scheme action, planning for next rounds essentially, the player takes 1 scheme marker from their personal supply. So they take it from here, for example, as long as they have one. And following that, they need to place it on 1 empty slot on a space on the province in front of them with the painted side face down, meaning the X that I mentioned before, which is going to be art in the final production. So there needs to be a slot there in the province in front of you. So let's say I'm this player, okay? And I need to have one available, and I need to have 1 open slot here so I can place it in the province that is actually active for me now. That means that later on, when the board will be rotated, this scheme will move according to the event card to another player, and it will target another player respectively. And we know how it is going to move because, again, from the event card, you know both the direction and the number of steps it will move, clockwise or anti-clockwise, and you know where this is going to end up by rotations of 90 degrees respectively. Then a follower needs to be added, so you need to have a follower available on your player board, and you need to place it on the scheme that you're planning to target on the next round. So the follower needs to be placed on top of the scheme token to indicate that the scheme is set. If all 3 spaces already have scheme tokens, players cannot take this action, and thus they cannot set any schemes. So keep in mind that not only you need to have an available scheme token, you need to also have an available follower, because when you place it, you spend one of your followers in order to set the motion for the scheme and have it installed in front of you. It will trigger on later rounds when you choose to do so, when you pay without tokens, but we have explained this at the beginning of this video before. Now, a word about bonuses. And again, these are going to be printed with the bonus markers. There are different 3 bonus markers, so I'm just moving them aside to show you the icons. If a +1 military, trade or politics bonus is active, meaning you have the bonus marker in the slot, and you don't have any void tokens on top of them, because the void token track is the same, they share the same track, that player can use each bonus once per round. And when a player uses a bonus, they take the corresponding bonus marker from the slot on the player board and place it on the building tile. On top of the bonus marker, they place their follower. A bonus is considered active when no void markers are on top of it. So in this case, these two bonus markers are active. This one is not active because it has a void token on it and you cannot use it, even if you wish to do so. That can happen either by not having a void. A bonus is considered active when there is no void marker on top of it, and that can happen either by not having a void in that position from the start of the game, depending on the character's stats, or by exchanging voids when activating schemes with other players. The player chooses to play a bonus action when they wish to do so, and they actually play a double action in that sense, because in this case they will add 2 Legion, in this case they will add 2 votes on the column of the Senate, and in this case they will take, if that was active, 2 trade cards from the trade pile. So this is very useful, and with the correct timing can make really a difference. Keep in mind that bonus actions under any circumstances cannot recruit legions and votes or remove from play the anchor card. Now let's see the income phase, which is the last phase in the round. Starting with the first player and continuing in the direction of the first player marker, like we do always, each player chooses how much income they want to collect from the province in front of them, the active province. So I'm seeing this province and I have a say for taxing this province respectively. Players can collect 1 denarius per population with no penalties, or they can choose to collect 2 denarii per population, double taxation, and pay the penalty, immediately losing the glory points depicted on the population disc. So in this case, for example, I have a population of 7. As you can see, that means I can choose to take 1 denarii for each population, so I would earn 7 denarii. But if I decide to do double taxation and get 14 denarii, I would lose 5 glory points, because this 5 number is in red, and this only applies if you do a double taxation, because if you do a single taxation, the normal taxation, you get 7 coins, that's normal, you don't ask too much money, and you don't lose reputation and glory points respectively. If you do double taxation, get 2 times the number this, that means that you will 2 times 7, 14 in this case. I would have to also lose victory points as shown on the wheel itself, and always this has to do with the province that it's in front of me, and only that. The left number on the population disc shows the current population of the province, while the right, the red one, shows the glory penalty the player must pay to earn double the denarii amount with the double taxation. Remember that players cannot apply double taxation if they cannot move back on the glory track, meaning they cannot lose the specific amount of glory points indicated for the double taxation. And after the income phase is complete and all the income is collected, all players have finished with their income. Then we move to adjust the province's board by turning 90 degrees per arrow on the face up event card. So keep in mind that the face up event card can show either clockwise, which is blue, or anti-clockwise, which is counterclockwise, which is orange. And this shows, for example, that I have to move the province's board 90 degrees clockwise. That means that it will go from here to here. If it had a double arrow, that means I have to move 2 times 90 degrees for 180 degrees in total. That means once for the first blue arrow, twice for the second blue arrow. Respectively, if that was counterclockwise, I will move anti-clockwise 1 time for 1 arrow, and if I had 2 arrows, I would move anti-clockwise twice, 1, 2, respectively. So you can see that this opens up a lot of planning and a lot of possibilities, and it's really a cool mechanism of the game that really makes the game shine. So, final scoring. After 9 rounds, when we finish the ninth and last round of the game, it's time to determine who has proven to be worthy of leading the empire to the new age of Rome. The player with the most glory points immediately earn the game, and the most glory points is the sum of the in-game accumulated glory points that you have gathered throughout the course of the game, and the status where your glory track marker is sitting on. So you, for example, for this case, it will be 7 glory points for the yellow player, plus any endgame glory points. In case of a tie, the tied players with the most denarii wins, so money matters in this case. And in case of a tie in denarii as well, all tied players are considered winners and co-emperors. Players score points according to the scorepad, as you can see, for the different additional input. So you gain from the glory track, as I mentioned before, how far you have progressed on the glory track, and then you gain from military, from politics, from trade, from religion, from quests, and from a denarii. So let's see how this translates into additional glory points. Glory track. You see at the end of the game we start scoring the game with the glory track. Each player earns glory points equal to the same number that their glory marker occupies. Then we move to the military. Players earn game points depending on the conquered regions according to the place they achieved in every defeated battle region. Number on the table on the player screen shows in a summary what the first player or the second player gets for each of the provinces from left to right, and you can see them here. But also, as you remember, if you have achieved the number of people of legions required to conquer, to defeat the legion, the region, then the first player will get this number, the second player will get this number, and the third player will get that number respectively. If there is a tie, you don't gain any glory points, and the only way to break ties is if you have managed to conquer the military medal by being the first to upgrade a module 3 military building to a module 2 military building to a module 3 one and gain the medal. So regions that have not been conquered grant no glory. So for example, if this one requires again 4 combined legions and you only have 3, then you don't gain any victory points because this region has not been conquered. Then we see the politics. A player's vote on the Senate column scores glory points depending on its place. And you can see again on the player aid a description of how this works. If you are on top, you only gain 1 glory point, as shown here. If you're on the bottom, you gain 6 glory points. So 1, 2, 5, 3, and 6. So in this case, for example, keeping that in mind, let me put it there so you can see. What would happen is that the red player is going to get 6 plus 3, 9 victory points. The green player is going to gain 5 glory points, and then the yellow player is going to gain 1 plus 2, 3 in total. So it is important your position, and it's important that you have votes at the end of the game on the column of the Senate in order to gain extra victory points. Then we gain points for the trade sets that score glory points depending on the type of the trade card. As shown on the player aid, you see that depending on the type of set, if it is tools or if it is jewelry, you get different amount of points from 3, 4, 5 and 6. 4 for weapons, 5 for clothes and 6 for jewels. And in this case, for having a set, again, a set needs to have 3 cards with the same type, so 3 weapons or 3 clothes. I would gain 4 victory points for this set plus 5 victory points for that set, for a total of 9 victory points from my trade cards. Then we move to religion. Players earn glory points for every pantheon piece placed on their pantheon depending on the piece color. So you can see again here that you see actually it's not there. Okay, I thought it would be there. It's not, maybe they have to add it on this endgame scoring. In any case, it is described in the rulebook. You gain victory points, glory points for each color of, for each piece that you have in your pantheon. Here is a full pantheon, consisted of 2 level 1 bottom player color pieces and 1 gold one. If the color belongs to the player, if the piece belongs to the player's color, it gives 1 victory point, 1 glory point, whether it is level 1 or level 2, meaning this one and this one give the same 1 value of glory point. And then if you have gold pieces, each gold piece gives you 4 victory points. If you have a silver piece, it gives you 3 victory points. And if you have a bronze piece, it gives you 2 victory points. So in this case, I have 2 gold ones and the rest are the player colors. I would gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my common pieces, plus 4 and another 4 for this one. So 5 plus 8 for a total of 13 glory points from the religion, for my pantheon. Then I would earn points for the quests. Players reveal their quest cards, and if they manage to accomplish the requirements on the card's quest, they earn the endgame glory points written on the quest card itself. So in this case, let's say I reveal those 2 quest cards. Tradest of all earn most glory points than any other player from trade sets. I had 2, let's say I had more than any other player, and I won more glory points from any other player's trade set. That's what's important. Then I would gain 4 glory points for fulfilling this quest. And also for this case, I would earn 3 additional glory points for every Pantheon level build. I have built both level 1 and level 2, both levels of my Pantheon, as I have shown you before. So I would gain 3 plus 3, another 6, for a total of 4 plus 6, 10 additional glory points. Last but not least, denarii. Players earn 1 endgame glory point per 4 denarii, or 3 if they have the religion medal, which gives them more better ratio essentially. But if they don't, they just gain 1 endgame glory point per 4. So in this case I have 5, I will gain 1 glory point for the 4 out of this 5. Keep in mind that all denarii exchanged for glory points are returned to the denarii supply. That means that if you are going to use it as a tiebreaker, as mentioned before, you will not have them in your possession respectively. So everything is going to be logged on this nice scorepad, and you're going to find your total, and the player with the most glory points will be the winner of the game. So there you have it. This is everything you need to know in order to play Age of Rome. I was very scholastic and gave you all the details and a lot of examples, but this is a very straightforward game with a lot of depth and a lot of wow moments. So this is Age of Rome. I'm going to cover the solo mode on a separate video, and I'm going to make a solo playthrough, so stay tuned for the additional separate video with the solo mode, which is really cool as well. Wow, what a phenomenal game. I mean, I like all aspects of the design. The fact that you have many ways to get victory points, the fact that the board itself is dynamic and modular. It changes because you only see a region, a province in front of you, which changes all the time. You can further develop it, you can benefit from it, but then it will go away from you. It will come back to you when it makes a full rotation, but you will have to deal with the next province following on. And this is really important because it doesn't let players sit in their corner tight, strategize on themselves and then lose the bigger picture. By the end of the day, you are a governor, so you need to make sure that the whole empire flourishes. So you cannot really overdevelop a single province. You have to think ahead. So it's like, there's someone above you and they're rotating chairs, and now you have to govern this region and then the next one and then the next one. But this is really, really nice, well done. It has a rotating board, which of course it may remind people games like, I don't know, Tolkien, which has also the rotating cogs, so that they are magnificent. But I think this is a much easier to get behind game, not necessarily less deep. It is a deep game, it has a lot of options and a lot of strategies, and I love it. But it has a very sleek design, it's very easily digested. I would say a short learning curve. I was very scholastic in my video to give you all the details, but that's because that's what I am. I like to give out all the info to my audience. But this is a really, really simple game in terms of what is expecting for you. And once you know what you're doing, then you can really shine by choosing different pathways, trying different things, pushing for, I don't know, the Pantheon victory points, the trade sets from the trade, the Senate. But the Senate is really nice because you get majorities. But will you have your vote at the end of the game in the column, and at what position? So regions as well, because not only you need to defeat the region with the correct amount of legion markers from among all other players, but you need to have more than them. And let's say you don't have more than them, but you have some and you are tied with another player, then they thought about the medals. I mean, how cool is that? You gain an upper hand by being the first one to develop a level 2 building to a level 3 building, say for the military track, the military aspect. So you get military building 1, military building 2, and then if you're the first one to make a military building 2 to military building 3, okay, I said it correctly, then you get the medal. And the medal for the military itself, for example, gives you the amazing ability that you break ties. So if you have 2 legion markers and the opponent has 2 legion markers, you win the majority. Wow. And there are all these nice perks depending on the different types of medals. You know, have more opportunities and more abilities if you have developed the building. So you really have a lot of things on your plate, but not a lot of rules on your plate. And I love this about this game. I have a lot of things to do and a lot of pathways to victory and a lot of ways to collect victories. Not too much victory points, not too much, just enough. You know, the right amount. It's not a VP salad, this game. It's a good ratio, I would say. But it does it in a very, very slick and nice way. So only good things to say about the game. I'm going to say more about the solo, which is really nice with the solo mode, playing against an AI that I'm going to describe, and I'm going to make a playthrough on a separate video. But did I like this game. This is an amazing design, and it's really, really surprising because I don't know anything else from those two guys. This is the first from T-Totum, the Game Studios. This is the first game they put out, and they really nailed it. They really, really nailed it. I think it's a game that whoever tries it will be amazed. Whoever misses the game will be sorry if they cannot find it for a while, because I'm sure it's going to get reprint, because it's one of those gems that you know, they're going to shine out in the vast majority of games out there. This is going to shine, I'm telling you, because it's a great design and it deserves all the success it can get. Give yourself an opportunity to try it online, read the rules, check the video, you know, see more about the game and find out more, because this is one of the few that they will stay on the boat. And when you're throwing out games and you have to make thinner your library, this is one that you're not going to let go, because it's a great, great design and a great production. Don't let me be misunderstood. The production and the development, I don't know who developed the game, but this is really, really, really nice as well, because both the mechanics is bursting on 2 cylinders, but also the development and the visual aspects and the looks of the game. So best of both worlds. What else can you ask? So there you have it. This is Age of Rome, magnificent new game hitting Kickstarter soon. Don't miss it out. Many thanks for watching.